For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Martin Zhuwakinyu. I'm speaking to columnist Jens Pedersen about the current situation in the Sudan. Jens, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Martin.
Jens, it's always a pleasure talking to you about developments in Africa, north of South Africa's borders. The last time I hosted you, we were talking about the ongoing conflict between Sudan and South Sudan. What is the current situation now?
Now, the current situation is more peaceful between the two countries than when we spoke the last time. However, it's a situation of a stalemate between the two countries in the sense of the negotiations, which was formulated part of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement in 2005, have now come to yet another stalemate. 3 months ago, there was a UN Security Council resolution which compelled the two parties to agree on the various outstanding issues such as borders, citizenship, oil sharing and so forth between the two parties. Now that deadline set forward in that security resolution is expired in the beginning of September, but was extended again for another 3 weeks, and it runs out in the coming week. So we are facing again a stalemate in the negotiations between Khartoum and Juba, and in the negotiations between Khartoum and the rebels in South Kordofan and Blue Nile states, the so-called Sudan People Liberation Movement North.
Mm-hmm. But now, a couple of months ago, the two countries agreed, on sharing oil and, on allowing South Sudan access to the port of Sudan for it to be able to export its oil. Would you describe this as a breakthrough, in the whole situation? Do you think this is going to have an impact on the outstanding issues, that they are negotiating about?
Well, it's certainly one step. I think there's a couple of caveats with the oil sharing agreement. It illustrates some progress. It does that. However, I think the agreement which came through thanks to a lot of pressure from the international community, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in particular, and the African Union, was just as much an expression of the economic realities that the two countries were facing after the stop of oil exports in South Sudan in January. Mm-hmm. Now, the economic situation in both countries has become very dire. So there was really no other way out. More so, the agreement and the subsequent extension of the Security Council Resolution 2046, which we spoke about, also gave a saved face for the international community, both for the Security Council and for the African Union, in the sense that the Security Council resolution opens up for sanctions should the outstanding issues not be solved. And the Security Council and the African Union would probably have found it difficult to agree on imposing sanctions on both Juba and Khartoum. So the oil agreement and the subsequent extension avoided this tension between two international bodies, the Security Council and the African Union. So I think there are several aspects of why the agreement came through on oil sharing. It's still contingent on security issues, and the technical aspect of opening exports is not as easy as just opening a tap of water.
Mm-hmm. Now, is the agreement already being implemented?
As I said, the agreement is contingent on
so it's not operational yet?
No, it's not. It's made contingent on security. From Khartoum, that means that they request Juba stop supporting rebel movements in Sudan. Mm-hmm. And for Juba, that means they request Khartoum to stop bombing and violating what they believe as their sovereign territory.
But do you see that happening? The two parties are doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of security.
I think it's part of a bigger picture, in the sense that the oil agreement also doesn't represent what was needed, a much more comprehensive agreement. It's addressing a single issue. And I think in order to address the bigger picture, which includes security, which includes the borders and some of the contested areas, such as ABA, for example, there needs to be an honest dialogue and discussion between the international community, the Security Council, the African Union, as to how far are they willing to go with potential sanctions, or what kind of pressure are they willing to apply, and which kind of processes spoils the process in going forward in addressing all of these issues. I think if it's addressed on an individual basis, all these issues, more issue specific, then I think each agreement is not likely to be implemented.
I see. Recently, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Meles Zenawi, unfortunately passed away. Do you see his death as having an impact on the negotiations between Sudan and South Sudan, and on the Horn of Africa, region generally?
Well, Zenawi offered quite a degree of political stability in Ethiopia, his political leadership, without any further judgment. And he was heavily involved as a facilitator in the negotiations between Khartoum and Juba. Now, the continuation of that process then depends on the secession within the ruling party in Ethiopia. So that's one way in which the leadership of Zenawi was involved in that process. Also, Ethiopia has deployed 3,500 peacekeeping troops in the RBA area, which should there not be a clear consensus within the government of Ethiopia as how to go forward, that part of, or that Ethiopian contribution may be jeopardized as well. So there's a lot of questions mark with regards to the Ethiopian involvement. One thing for sure is that the stability that was provided, or the political leadership that Zenawi provided, needs to be, well, it remains to be seen whether that vacuum will be filled, that's for sure.
Yes, thank you so much for your time. That was Jens Pedersen providing an update on the situation in Sudan and South Sudan. I'm Martin Zhuwakinyu. Thank you.